Good morning.
Yes.
I'm much more excited than I was in the last show. I should start this episode with a small apology, like any good show starts with an apology. I wasn't feeling very well yesterday, and I felt like I let the way I felt physically affect the way I felt on the show. You got to fight through that.
Right.
And I didn't do it. And this Hornets win over Oklahoma City, which we're going to talk about here in a few moments, helped re-energize me. Mm-hmm. Along with lots and lots of medication.
Because you could say that stormy thundercloud that you're under just moved on. The clouds parted.
I OKC what you did there.
And I see what you did there.
You said the same thing I said.
Well, but you used to explain to the listeners if they didn't get it. You used the name of the team as a pun.
Did you watch the game last night?
Actually, I did, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was fantastic. I did. Can I say this?
You can.
Obviously, you don't know what I'm going to say. Was it during the best stretch of basketball, like flawless third quarter? They were playing perfect basketball, and in the middle of a perfect Hornets basketball stretch, MCW missed a layup.
There's some things that are consistent. Man. Oh, look who it is.
Well, yeah,
speaking of consistency.
No, okay.
Oh, the Dark Knight Residential Group.
How are you, D?
Good. What's up, dudes?
We're just being excited about this Hornets win over Oklahoma City that we're going to talk about in a few moments. We've got Double M15, Danny in the chat. Danny's saying, whoa, Dasani. What's going on, dude? Dasani. You got Steve's got the Dasani in here instead of the LaCroix.
You know, what I love more than a LaCroix is a good value. I love a bargain. And the Dasani is just...
You have no loyalty except to the almighty dollar.
My loyalty is to the sparkling beverage. I'll take really anything. Harris Teeter brand, not bad.
That's right. You've brought that in before.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what I don't like, though, is the Soda Stream. Doesn't do it for me. And I would be saving buku bucks.
Oh, making your own soda water.
Yeah, I'm not into the artisanal aspect of it. the bespoke.
All right, let's start this show and talk about a great Hornets win in Oklahoma City.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
This is Locked On Hornets, your daily podcast on the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA. I'm Doug Branson. I cover the Charlotte Hornets for FanRag.com, and I'm joined from the mean streets of Cotswold. He's been covering the Hornets for AtTheHive.com since they were the Bobcats. The man, the myth, the legend, David Walker.
Throw it back to the Bobcat days. Just when you think you may have it worse, there's somebody that looks worse than you do. Good morning.
Good morning. And to my right, he's also covering the Hornets for AtTheHive.com and SBNation.com, Steve Bob Forrest.
Hey, David, did David just sub-tweet me there with the somebody's always looking worse?
It may have been. I think he was talking about Oklahoma City, but I think it could also apply to you.
Or what I thought he was talking about was Rufus Links, R.I.P.
That's right.
And his sweet Oakley blades that never came off.
He's just on a farm somewhere.
We are coming to you live from the Gittimer.com studios in BEA, beautiful uptown Charlotte. This episode brought to you by our friends at the Knight Residential Group. Visit them online, knightresidentialgroup.com. That's Knight with a K, or give them a call, 704-733-9566. They're not just any construction company. They are the Knight Residential Group. Plus, we've got T-shirts, mugs, all kinds of merch that you can purchase for a Hornets fan that you love on tpublic.com. I'm going to show you the store here on tpublic.com. You just search Locked On Hornets, and you can especially for fans of this show. A lot of kind of inside jokes. You got the Buzz City Frazier shirt, the Buzzamania shirt. We've got a cool Hornets on Fire t-shirt that you can buy for any Hornets fan. Also, if you use the link in the description of this show, in the show links, you can buy it for any fan. How about a Kristaps Porzingis shirt there on TeePublic? A lot of interesting ideas. There's a Kristaps shirt. I couldn't find it before we started this show, but there's a great Kristaps shirt that is the Krispy Kreme logo, but it says Kristaps. I want that shirt. So if you want to buy me that shirt,
a lot of good logo play on TeePublic.
If you want to buy me that shirt,
the Kristaps. Yeah, I like the Kristaps Krispy Kreme. The Porzingis Patagonia mashup. I mean, while it looks real nice, I'm not quite feeling the crossover there.
Oh, that's real nice.
Oh, that's real nice.
All right, we're going to talk about this OKC game first, if that's okay with you, gentlemen, and then we will also discuss the news that we got about Cody Zeller's injury update, but that's tough news. I want to start with good news on this Hornets victory day. What do you think?
Victory Tuesday. I'm here for it. Let's do it.
All right, Hornets get the victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Final score 116-103. Let's jump around the panel. Then we'll hear from the guys on the live chat. The Nest, we'll go to them as well. All right, 116-103, the final score. Big win for the Hornets. David, what did you see?
So I particularly enjoyed the fourth quarter where the Hornets scored 40 points. That just hasn't happened.
The third quarter.
Yeah, what did I say, the first?
The fourth. David's on it.
I knew it was one of them.
All right.
Well, there was a quarter where they scored 40 points. I didn't mean to say the third, so I'm glad you guys are here. They should do that more because it worked out really well. And the shooting for the Hornets returned last night. Marvin with a massive game. All the starters in double figures last night. I mean, we'd be remiss if we did not mention the mess that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, but when you need a get-right game and you come up against the Thunder, that's just good timing. So the Hornets will obviously take whatever they can get at this point. But, I mean, an overall performance from everybody that played, one of the better offensive performances we've seen in quite some time.
They had an opportunity to get right against the Golden State Warriors when they were down several players and could not do it. This time they closed the deal. Steve, what did you see?
Yeah, that's true. And a perfect timing, like you said, David, because we got the Rockets coming up next. And so we're going against a team that wasn't, they're the closest to the Hornets, I think the Thunder were in terms of just not being able to get right lately. It was kind of a loser leaves town match, in my opinion. Like whoever walked away from that game was going to have a stern talking to in the locker room, I think, or just needing to turn things around. But we definitely needed a win going up against the Rockets. That's going to be a tough one. As far as last night, that third quarter was flawless. That was a really great stretch of Hornets basketball. That's one of the things that's kind of frustrating about this team is that they look amazing sometimes. When everything's clicking, they're going really good. One thing I will say that I noticed over the last little stretch, and it's encouraging to see him get more time, is Travion Graham's development as a 3-and-D guy, because that, in my opinion, is, that's like the most valuable position almost nowadays, aside from having a superstar. Right, there's a shortage of those guys in the league. There's not enough for every team, and every team needs one. We don't really have a true one. Batum's the closest thing, but his D has slipped. He's banged up this year. MKG never developed into that guy, obviously, on the 3 side of it. So if he can turn into that guy, which he sort of looks like he's becoming, that would be an amazing development.
He can definitely steal some more minutes, and I want to talk more about him in a moment, but we have to mention what really was the turning point for this game, and that's three-point shooting. They shoot 52%. That's a season high. 25 three-point attempts. That's important because that's the goal that Steven Silas, acting head coach, has set out for this team. Told the team they need to be shooting at least 25 three-pointers a game if they want to be successful offensively. It's also the first time they've shot above 40% on at least 25 attempts since November 11th versus Minnesota. So that's more than a month since they've shot it well and shot it enough. And so that was very important for them. Marvin Williams, again, continuing his great three-point shooting season, 4 of 5 from beyond the arc. Kemba Walker got it going as well, 3 of 5, hit a very important shot in the fourth quarter that I want to discuss as well. Jeremy Lamb was 2 of 7. He's struggling with his three-point shot right now, but he hit that first one from deep that I thought really gave the Hornets confidence. They started, 17-7 in that game. Got up on the Oklahoma City Thunder early, and it allowed them or helped them to close late. And then also we mentioned Travion, 3 of 3 from the field. So let us know what you want to talk about here on the chat in this game. We're going to go to Daniel first, who says, great win, but it also felt like an outlier game. Can't expect them to shoot that well. Some of Lamb's range shots had no business going in, though I'm glad they did. David, did it feel like an outlier game to you or a sign of things to come?
That's what I was going to point to. It kind of reminded me of that Orlando game where, yes, they got a win. They played better than their opponent, but they immediately turn around and in that case face the Warriors. Now, as Steve Bob said, they have to go face the Houston Rockets, which is going to be a whole nother test. So, I mean, it's an outlier right now because they haven't done that all year. You know, the three-point shots have not been falling like that. You did mention Lamb, Doug. I wanted to ask you guys because over the last 10 games or so, he's down below 30% shooting the three ball. And you saw some of those last night, like late clock situations where he was just heaving them up. But, I mean, he was a big key for them early on in the season, scoring, especially from three. If that goes away, you know, knowing the struggles they have, what kind of hill is that going to be to climb?
Well, it's difficult right now, right, because you have Nick Batum, who is ailing as well, and that elbow affecting his shooting. So you're not getting much effective range shooting from the shooting guard position. That's been difficult for the Hornets to overcome and been a big part of why they haven't been able to shoot effectively from long range. So they definitely need him not only to find his stroke when he's part of the starting unit, but when he goes to the bench as well. I mean, it's important for both Lamb and Kaminsky to be consistent with that three-point shot.
He is dinged up a little bit, so maybe that's affecting it. But, again, that's over the last 10 games. The shot's kind of fallen off.
What do you guys think about Batum in general? I mean, he doesn't look right to me at all. He looks slow. He looks like it's more than just the arm and the shot to me. I don't know. What are you seeing?
No, I think it's definitely the injury. I think it's affected his shot tremendously. I think that elbow it's a very painful injury. I think he came back too early.
Right.
I think that
it kind of looks like he shouldn't be out there to me. Is what I'm thinking.
He wasn't out there in this game. They're kind of game to game with Nick Batum at this point, and maybe there should be consideration about holding him out even longer to try and get him healthy. But if there's no chance of that, if he's just going to have to manage pain throughout the season, then I don't know. I mean, if there's no long-term concern, maybe you don't shut him down. I think that's got to be a decision between the team doctors and, of course, Nick Batum. But it's definitely affected his season so far and may continue to affect it going forward. Want to take a second to tell you about Knight Residential Group. They are an all-inclusive residential construction company right here in Charlotte that specializes in high-end custom construction. We're talking about brilliant interior renovations, immaculate custom-built homes. If it can be built, then Knight Residential Group can have it done for you. With a combined 165 years of construction experience, Knight Residential Group believes in doing projects with meticulous detail using the highest standards. Use Knight Residential Group and you can be sure that you're going to have a pleasant customer experience and you're going to walk away with a beautiful home. Don't trust your next custom home project to any construction company. Use the group that we trust. Call them at 704-733-9566. That number again, 704-733-9566, or visit them online at knightresidentialgroup.com. That's Knight with a K. Join so many other current homeowners right here in Charlotte and allow Knight Residential Group to provide you with your forever home.
This is Locked On Hornets.
I got a couple of rookies here. I got David spreading fake news.
Guess what? 4 championship games in a row. Continued success, sustainability.
I've got Steve Bob not plugging in his headphones.
Which I would love to see JaVale McGee, get out there on the ice velodrome or whatever you call those things.
This is a professional show we're trying to run here.
Only on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, we're talking about this win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 116-103. Only the Hornets' second road win. Very important for this team's future to start winning some road games And winning games in general, I think, would be good. This sends them to 10-16 on the season. And as we said, it's a tough road for the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, but there's a lot of talent on that team. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, all capable, exactly, of taking over a game. And the Hornets did a great job of managing all three. And Russell Westbrook, guys, despite scoring 30 points in this, I thought Michael Kidd-Gilchrist did a great job in the first quarter and the third quarter, forcing him into tough shots. He was 2 of 7 in the first, 3 of 8 in the third. Got a lot of his points against that bench unit. MKG, I thought, did a fantastic job of limiting Russell Westbrook's effectiveness, and I think that was a key to the game as well.
He's a dog. I love MKG. It's one of the most frustrating things about his career to me is that it just like the stat sheet kind of lies about him on defense sometimes. Like he plays great D, and then dudes still get a ton of points sometimes.
And he gets baptized by Russ on that one fast break.
Yeah,
but that's okay. But after that dunk, as they pointed out on SportsCenter this morning, 22-2 run after that dunk. And MKG last night, guys, 4 by 4 by 4 by 4.
Ooh, yeah. Is that 4 turnovers in there? What was that?
That's a quad.
Nah.
We got a quad there.
Steals points, assists, rebounds. I'm gonna go with that.
Dave, you'll get this reference. Let me slide in here, Dave. That's where when you get dunked on like that, that's where you hit him with a scoreboard. You just point to the scoreboard, my man. Now you'll still be embarrassed.
You guys still use scoreboards when you play?
No, not at all.
For assist, I think the big deal for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist because he's one of the lowest on the team in terms of assist percentage. It's just has not been part of his game this season. Mid-range jumpers have been a very big part of his game. Transition points, he's been a one-man fast break. That's been a very effective part of his offensive game and, of course, his defense. But he has not been really moving the ball a lot. When the ball finds him, it usually stays with him and he takes a shot. So I think that's going to be important to their ball movement as well. Maybe it's something that they're starting to see and starting to explore. Hopefully you see that continue, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, because I mean, his ability to quickly drive by someone can often influence a defense, move them around a little bit. And if he can start finding shooters or start finding Dwight Howard underneath the rim, then that could be a very effective thing for this Charlotte Hornets offense. Want to go back to Treveon Graham because he had a fantastic game in this one, 20-plus minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 3 of 3 from beyond the arc, 12 points, also had 2 rebounds and added an assist as well. I'm pretty sure Graham has put Dwayne Bacon maybe on the bench for a little while, stealing some minutes from Bacon. He's done the thing that we've all been waiting for him to do, which is hit occasional three-point shots to go along with that tough, mistake-free defense that we've been seeing him play. We got a little taste of this when he was very good in Summer League before succumbing to an injury that sort of affected his rhythm going into this season as well. Plus, he played a little point forward, initiating the offense and finding Marvin underneath the rim for a basket, bounce pass, looking like LeBrevion Grames out there.
Wait a second.
You're not.
I'm just gonna let that one breathe.
You're not.
It's LeJean Brains.
You're not about LeBrevion Grames.
That's we should just did a LeDoug Branson James. That was a forced effort, but I'll give it to you because man, I love Treveon. They were looking for things to root for the season, and like I said before, that's a development I'm very interested in.
Let's send it to Kemba Walker, see if he can do a better job of explaining why Treveon had such a great game and why he's so important to this team right now.
He's just a great basketball player. He knows everything that we do, always in the right spots, offensively always makes the right plays, and he's always ready. You know, if he doesn't play 15 straight games, if he gets his name called, he's ready, and he produces every single time. So, you know, we need guys like that. And if we can have more guys like Trey, that would be great.
More guys like Trey.
Agree.
Decode that for me, David. More guys like Trey.
Yeah, more guys that can guard multiple positions, can hit the open shot when they have it, and don't make mistakes. I mean, that's the biggest thing you're seeing from Treveon. That's why everybody loves having him out there right now. He's just rock solid, you know, doesn't overextend himself on defense, doesn't get himself into bad situations. And then, like you saw last night, a 4-point play, you know, knocking down open threes. Yeah, I'd say he's got to be the first guy off the bench for the foreseeable future. He's just been too solid. And right now, this team needs everything, but they really need guys they can depend on to go out there. And he's shown that he can do that. I mean, that's the one thing that's been consistent with him. He's just not making those mistakes.
Big matchup in this game, Dwight Howard versus Steven Adams. Steven Adams, a physical force underneath the rim. There were some questions about how effective Dwight Howard could be on offense. Steve, what did you think about that matchup? Who got the best of who in that one?
Yeah, apparently the OKC fan base was really upset. They're just all in on Adams now. They're just like, they're not doing enough with Adams. And
More Adams.
Yeah, he's kind of their guy over there. Yeah, I mean, Dwight's been great. Dwight has been really good the whole season for us, honestly. I mean, he's been doing everything that we thought he could and having a great season. It's unfortunate that it's one of those things that doesn't seem to be swaying the rest of the team. Like, I think opponents are kind of okay with letting Dwight get his, you know what I mean? Like, that's a fine offensive game plan to play against right now. But yeah, I mean, he's looked great, and to Kemba's point, I think that's actually a great insight by him, because that's the one thing. Travion, a lot of these guys come in, like Monk comes in for 3 minutes a game or something, and he can't do much. Travion has always used those minutes really, really well. I remember last year I was doing a lot of the tweeting for At the Hive, and the VCU fan base was electric. Like, they would retweet something. There'd be like 200 retweets on a Travion Graham thing, because people just love him. He's just a guy who gets out there. If he gets 2 minutes, if he gets 20 minutes, he's going to put it all out on the floor.
All right, 23 points for Dwight Howard, 7 rebounds, 9 of 13 from the field, 5 of 7 from the line. David, only 1 turnover. This was a fantastic game for Dwight Howard, but you wouldn't know it from going on Twitter. It feels like there's still a lot of Dwight hate rolling around Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you watch this game in particular, but most of the whole season here, and not be overly pleased with what Dwight has brought here. You know, everything we heard out of Atlanta. And if you followed Dwight all in his career, you know there's been some ups and downs, but he's been kind of the steadying force behind this team this year. And yeah, it hasn't resulted in an overabundance of wins for this team, and they're fighting to get back into playoff contention. But I don't think you can lay a lot of that at the feet of Dwight Howard. He definitely changes how they're going to play, you know, and he definitely changes some of the ball movement at times. But he's been so effective. And last night he ate Steven Adams' lunch. I mean, he owned the paint all night. He hit closeout buckets down the stretch, which, you know, you're not going to see that every night. But I don't see how you're mad at Dwight this far into the season.
I go to the White House.
Dwight's one of those guys, though, where the idea of Dwight Howard has long, you know, surpassed the actual production of him. You know, he wasn't bad in Atlanta last year either, but it's like a guy like Nick Young or something where, you know, people are just like, I know who that is. I'm not going to change my opinion on him ever. Meta world peace.
But I feel like he's undervalued almost now.
I agree with you.
People are starting to turn heads now. You know, he's been pretty good so far this season.
I will take wasted possessions from Dwight Howard over a wasted Miles Plumlee.
No, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with you guys.
I will take a Dwight Howard over the Roy Hibbert, Spencer Hawes era. I think you have to look at this. You have to look at this in relative terms. Yes, there are going to be times when he turns the ball over, and that's frustrating. There are going to be times when he misses free throws down the stretch, though he is shooting the ball a lot better from the line. Yes, but there are also going to be times, like you saw late in that fourth quarter, when he's able to help put away games, when he's able to snag an offensive rebound that extends a crucial possession, or grabs a tough defensive rebound that takes away a second chance opportunity for the opposing team. And, we got a question here on the chat. Is Dwight having an all-star season? I don't think so, but I also don't think that's the point. I don't think the Hornets necessarily need him to have an all-star season to be better off than they were last season.
I actually think he is, but he's not going to get it if the Hornets have this record. You know, if we were third or fourth, I think he and Kemba would both absolutely be in. The all-star thing now is very much representative of your record. That's the reason why Kyle Korver and Jeff Teague got 4 Hawks in that one year because they had such a good record. I just want to be clear, though. I agree with you guys on Dwight, and I think the national media, surprisingly enough, has been giving him some shine, rightly so, on his good play. I was talking more about like NBA Twitter and stuff, just like the casual fan is over him, and that's a shame. They're not watching, the production that's going on because he's having a great season.
And I'll say this too: I think that good shooting covers up a lot of sins. When the team's not shooting the ball very well around him, it's going to highlight some of those possessions because when you're not shooting the three well in today's NBA, you absolutely need every other possession to be extremely effective. That's the whole point of shooting a lot of threes, is because 1 3 is, better than a couple of 2s.
And that's the thing you've always needed around Dwight is you need
That's
shooters.
when he was successful in Orlando.
Exactly. It's kind of surprising he's doing so well for us right now with the dearth of shooting around him. That's always been the blueprint. I mean, that's what Stan's doing with the Pistons right now. I know they're not playing that great at this moment, but, the Drummond.
But that's Drummond. He's going to be an all-star problem, most likely.
Absolutely. Drummond plus shooters. I mean, it's like it's a thing that works, but you kind of need almost every other guy on there to be able to hit a 3, and we're running out lineups like that one with MKG, MCW, and Dwight. It's like that's just not going to work too well.
And I'll say this, if they can get more shooting around Dwight, then I think his production will go up, and he could be in that all-star discussion. The reason I say he's not now is part your reason that the NBA is changing. It's tougher for big guys, traditional big guys like him to get love, to get shine enough. But he's getting positive press. But if you look at his production year over year, he was actually more efficient last year in Atlanta than he has been this season. Though
it's his best shooting season of his career.
Though it is improving.
That was his best field goal percentage in his 13th year. It's incredible.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this continues. But and I think it's still going to be tough for him to get into the All-Star game with the current makeup of the NBA. But it's I think I just think that some of this is unfair relative to what they were going to have to deal with had they not made the move.
I think if you are against Dwight at this point, you didn't like the trade maybe, and you're just trying to stick with that. But like I said, there's positives and negatives, and there's stuff that could be better with him there out there on the floor. But I think if you're highlighting all of those and then you're just discounting the rebounds, the double doubles, the way he controls the paint and affects other things in there, that's a bit unfair to Dwight. So you got to be honestly, you have to be thrilled with what he's brought to this team this year, because he's changed their outlook a little bit. And maybe they're still trying to figure some of that out. Doug, you mentioned getting the guys around them. The starters all played 30 minutes last night. And I haven't gone back and looked, but that's not something you typically see. It really felt like Silas was trying to get those guys in there. Doug, I think you mentioned he kept them out a little bit in the second, so it allowed him to play longer maybe. He played the whole third quarter.
I think that was key. We need to give. I think you got to give Coach Silas some props there. For playing and sticking with Travion Graham, but also he sticks with the bench in that second quarter, even though Oklahoma City had started to filter in Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. He trusts that second unit to hold the lead, and to the second unit's credit, they did. Even though they didn't shoot well, they stuck with it on the defensive end, something that this team has struggled to do at times. And then that allowed them to play the starters deep in the third quarter. And I got to mention one more thing before we move away from this game. What I thought was the most important play in the entire game came with a little over 5 minutes left to play in the game. Let's roll the tape. Kemba Walker getting trapped and then just stepping up and knocking down a three-point shot over defense. And the reason that this play, I think, was the most important play in this game is because it came after an Oklahoma City 11-0 run and after a Russell Westbrook steal and dunk that absolutely lit the Oklahoma City crowd on fire. And how many times have we seen the Hornets go on the road and lose a game to Boston, to New York, to Chicago, because they let the crowd get into it in the fourth quarter, go on a run, and not be able to stop it. Yes, the Hornets had a little bit more of a cushion than they did in some of those games, but I think that Kemba Walker really ended that game right there in that moment. And the problems that the Hornets have had in closing these games out have been amongst everyone. It hasn't been just Jeremy Lamb. It hasn't been just Dwight Howard or Nick Batum. It's been everyone struggling to knock down open shots, including the captain, Kemba Walker. So I think this just goes to show more evidence of how important this game will be for the Hornets moving forward. Whether it's an outlier in terms of their three-point shooting or not, they had to get this game for their confidence. I called it a crisis of confidence in the last show, and the Hornets veterans, the Hornets starters, stepping up in a big way to get a huge win over Oklahoma City, 116-103.
Yeah, that minutes thing, too, is important because in that Chicago game, the overtime game, the four starters, basically, I forget which guy didn't, but all over like 42, 43 minutes. They played almost the entire game. And you're getting diminishing returns at some point, especially with Kemba. I think he's a guy that just his returns go so much down when he's tired. So this is Locked On Hornets. Our boys got to go Cobra Kai. We got to go 80s villain defense.
Grow a goatee.
Do they gladiator stab him real quick in the ribs before
have an
the
Eastern
game?
European accent.
Only on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We've already done a ton of giveaways this December. We've given away tickets to multiple games. We've given away this guy, this Frank Kaminsky bobblehead, and we're not done yet. David, we've got a very special giveaway. We've got floor seats to Friday's game against the Portland Trail Blazers, and they could be yours thanks to our friends at Discovering CLT on Instagram. Go to Instagram and give at Discovering CLT a follow and a like. Like the contest post that they're going to post to enter to win these floor seats to the Portland Trail Blazers game on Friday. Discovering CLT has the best images of the Queen City, and it's a great way to keep up with what's going on in Charlotte. And you also want to follow us on Instagram at Locked On Hornets because that's the best way to follow the Hornets on the gram. D.
Graham. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw my
That's what the kids say, right?
I was feeling a little bit down. I'm sorry. It affected me a little bit. I posted a picture of the old Charlotte Coliseum imploding. And that was it. See, you guys get it. It's not a visual medium. I can tell you stories about it.
Just apropos of nothing, shout out that stadium implosion, the Atlanta one.
Oh, with the bus in front of it?
That's one that kills me every time.
The Marta coming through in the clutch. It's so funny.
Hey, guys, how about Travion Graham? Instagram. Let's get that nickname going, baby. Coming off the bench. Let's make a t-shirt. All right, I'm out of here.
That's real nice.
Oh, that's real nice.
Okay, well, part of the reason, David, that you were probably down in the dumps and wanting to post pictures of implosions is because of all of these injuries that the Hornets have been having to deal with. Now, they did get a little healthier last night, getting both Frank Kaminsky and Jeremy Lamb back into the rotation. But one guy that they will be without for a little while longer is Cody Zeller. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski was the first to have it. Reported yesterday that Cody Zeller will undergo a surgery to repair the torn meniscus that he suffered in last week's game against the Golden State Warriors. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Zeller is averaging 20 minutes per game this season off the bench. His field goal percentage has seen a little bit of a dip this season from 57 to 49.5%, but his blocks and offensive rebounds have seen a slight uptick. David, thoughts on the news about Cody Zeller's injury?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
He's just injured, man. It's
okay. It's
Look,
just, he's
injuries
just having to deal with an injury.
He didn't want to get injured, okay, David? But
sorry, guys. I just had someone jump out in front of my vehicle. That was unforeseen.
Oh, okay. Well, this is
I'm glad you did. You see it in time? I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and take this one while I cool off back here.
This is an action-packed. This is an action adventure. Chases are happening. What's going on? We about
just became evidence in a court case. Here's what I want to say about the Cody Zeller injury. It sort of, I think, I'm no doctor. I'm the Surgeon General's warning. I'm not a surgeon in general. But I will say this, that this timeline sort of matches up with the meniscus procedure that they call shaving off the meniscus. Sounds disgusting to me, but it's when the meniscus injury happens on the outside, similar to what happened to Kemba Walker a few seasons ago. You see this a lot. A meniscus, it's a pretty common injury amongst NBA basketball players, and sometimes they have to go in and repair the whole thing if it's a severe tear, but if it's just a minor tear to the outside of the meniscus, sometimes they can just remove it, and then they're back in 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not saying this is educated speculation.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that the timeline is consistent with that kind of thing. 6 to 8 weeks, not bad.
Well, sure, but it's the same thing that we just. I've said this before, but we can't have any of those guys miss that chunk of time, and we always do. The Hornets, rather, not us. I'm not on the team, but
David's okay.
Thank God.
I'm okay. I'm sorry.
But my concern, besides David's well-being about Cody, would be the mental aspect of it, because it's one of those things people are saying about Blake now, where it's like it's not necessarily that this particular injury, it's that recurring thing, that mental thing of not being with the team, not having the day-to-day, not going out there and doing what you're here to do, what your profession is. You're not getting that sense of purpose every day, and that's like a real thing. Like some of these guys kind of never come back, and I just hope that that's not one of those things, because he's missed a lot of games, for over different seasons. So it's a tough thing. Hopefully he's ready to go. I will mention somebody at the Hive Slack had or maybe it was ours, was talking about how they had Luke Zeller. They were on something with Luke Zeller, like calling a game or something, his brother, and he was saying there was a little bit of ill will, or kind of Cody wasn't feeling the Dwight situation.
Now that's some major speculation. We'll call that. We'll call that in the rumor territory.
Well, look, this is a show. This is a Hornet show, and I'm giving you insight from an SB Nation chat. Like, these are people that are journalists. I'm not like, what I'm saying? Like, this guy was talking to his brother. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, this isn't a verified source story or anything.
Yeah,
but
I think the important thing to note is that you've got players in Cody Zeller and Nick Batum who want to be on the floor. And this is an important season for the Charlotte Hornets and an important season for both players. And Cody Zeller coming off signing the contract, and Nick Batum not playing overseas because he wanted to focus on his NBA game and prove himself. And they're both coming back on short timelines. What does that do to the long term in terms of their career, and how does it affect their ability to stay on the floor throughout the season and be effective once they return? Those are important questions to ask and important things to monitor. And I think we'll keep an eye on that, especially with Batum, who has really struggled since his return from that elbow injury. David, are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm searching out these young little punks that stepped out in front of my car. I'm at a full stop now. I'm just Googling North Carolina traffic pattern.
These youths.
David's going full Gran Torino over there. Minus the racism, hopefully.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Always.
Always minus racism. That's the Locked On Hornets promise.
That'll do it for us here on Locked On Hornets. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Make sure to give at Discovering CLT on Instagram a follow to win to win a chance at getting some floor seats for this Portland Trail Blazers game coming up. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Hornets, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Hornets and shoot us your Hornets questions and thoughts to buzzbuzz@lockedonhornets.com. We're back again tomorrow with a preview of Wednesday night's game against the Houston Rockets. For David and Steve, I'm Doug saying go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.